Hi everybody, my name is Lee Arnold and I'm the CEO of Kogo Capital, a nationwide private money lending company. And our mutual friend, Tim Randall of the REI Club, asked if I would shoot a couple of videos to help you guys out. And one of the topics that Tim asked me to cover was how to find sellers. You know, we are in a pretty aggressive real estate market right now. And I don't anticipate that that's going to be changing anytime in the near future. Interest rates are still at historic lows, and we have a major shortage of inventory. And so a lot of real estate investors across the country are coming up short when it comes to finding good real estate investment deals, that there's still enough margin in that they can make some money. So the question is, how do we find these motivated sellers? Well, some would tell you, well, they're on the MLS. You know, they've gone out and they've found a real estate agent, so they are on MLS. Now, I will tell you, as an investor myself, I buy properties off of the MLS. I'm also a licensed real estate broker with Keller Williams. So I can go in and I can run my auto hot sheets. I can write offers myself. I get paid commission when we buy those properties. And we do still shop the MLS and buy properties there, but it's not where we're getting our greatest margins, okay? The best deals out there are the ones that are, number one, not listed. Okay, these are properties where the homeowner may or may not want to sell, but they haven't made that decision yet. These are properties that are not listed and they are not on the MLS. That's what listed means, or being advertised. Now, how do we find sellers? Okay, number one, we want motivated sellers. They've got to be motivated. And so we're going to go to natural places of motivation. Things like notice of default lists. Notice of default. Or for those of you that are in judicial foreclosure markets, we're going to go after lis pendens filings. That is the foreclosure notification in most states that are east of the Mississippi. That is a non-judicial, or that is a judicial foreclosure filing. Those of you that are west of the Rockies or the Mississippi, you are dealing with notices of default. Now, these are homeowners that have not been making their payment. Also, we're going to go to the foreclosure auction. Now, some of you would say, well, Lee, foreclosure auction, I have to have all cash if I go to the foreclosure auction. In most markets, that's a true statement. But I only want you going to the foreclosure auction so you can identify the properties that are going to sale so that we can reverse engineer the process and we can go after these properties pre-foreclosure. So the notice of default has been filed, and we're seeing more and more of these now coming online because in the midst of the COVID pandemic, we had nationwide moratoriums on eviction and foreclosure. Those moratoriums are now being lifted, and we are seeing record numbers of notice of default filings because there's all of these property owners that have been renting out their houses and the tenants have not been paying. Why haven't they been paying? Because the federal government said they didn't have to. Well, now we've got all these homeowners across the country that are struggling now because they weren't getting that rent payment, but they still had to pay their mortgage, they still had to pay their property taxes, they still had to pay for insurance and maintenance and upkeep. Quite a sham, if you ask me. So these people need our help. The way to find sellers that are truly motivated is those that are in situations where if they don't do something quickly, they're going to lose control of the property either through foreclosure or the bank coming in and taking control, losing it to auction, it becomes an REO. But let me tell you about my favorite, and this is one that most people miss. Now, I'm involved in some pretty large masterminds of some of the top real estate investors across the country, Tim Randall being one of them. And even in the midst of these really, impressive investors, they're missing this one component. I want you guys to write it down, okay? It's called code enforcement. The code enforcement list. This is a list of properties that are subpar. So the city has certain codes and regulations that property owners must maintain their property in good condition. If they don't, neighbors will make a claim to code enforcement, and that property will now fall under jurisdiction of that city, which now means they have to go in and clean it up. Now, with code enforcement comes fines, comes costs. The city could come in and they could clean up all the rubbish and debris. They will bill that homeowner and it'll attach itself as a lien against the asset, and that lien can be foreclosed. If you guys are not working the code enforcement lists in your market, this is not only one of the best lists that we are working and our clients across the country are working, but it represents the greatest profit per transaction just by helping these homeowners avoid the code enforcement fines and costs. So go get that list. Simply go to Google, type in your state, your city, your county, and then the word code enforcement, and those properties are just going to pop up for you. This has been an investor tip. My name is Lee Arnold with Kogo Capital, and thanks to Tim Randall at REI Club for allowing me to be here. Have fun, you guys.